Wait. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. The sum $2,700,000. Oh, I don't have to make this video anymore. I'm out of here. Oh my spam. It's really entertaining stuff you get in your spam folder. My name is Avery. Oh, great. The battery is almost dead on this camera. I'm gonna have to change it. Guess what? I just completely filmed this video. Well, not completely. I was about halfway through, and it's a pretty long video, so I was pretty happy with it, and I was really excited with how it was coming along so far. And I looked up in the corner. The icon is right there. I'll show video footage of it. See that? See that right there? It says 4K 30 up there. Well, it said full HD, meaning I shot an entire video in HD, and I had to just complete. I'm starting over because I paid a bunch of money for a 4K camera, for 2 4K cameras, and I ain't gonna settle for that. So flip the script all the way back. Let's just start over. It's not like it matters. Also, I gotta replace the battery on this thing because it's dead, because I've already filmed this already. I really hope you find today's video interesting because we are going to be talking about my book and the various trees we are planting from all the people who bought it, and we are also going to be talking about the Earth. Over there, you see? The Earth is floating there mysteriously. We're going to be talking about it today. Also, don't think about where I am if the Earth is floating in my room, because that'll make it pretty obvious that this is fake if it wasn't obvious enough already. What am I on about? Well, last time I was here, I mentioned I'd be doing a video about a cat bank, and I still would like to, but as you can see, it's sort of a work in progress with this customized cat bank, so maybe, yeah, we got a little bit time left on that before that's going to be a thing. So let's talk about this book and the trees that are being planted. Watch out. There's going to be some Avery the Science Fairy stuff. Notice I rhymed it. Before we start, this video was sponsored by Worth It, which you have probably heard of at this point. I'm going to be talking about that at the end, but I just wanted to get that out of the way at first because I don't want anybody to think like the Illuminati or the New World Order is paying me to discuss what we're going to talk about in this video. I mean, I am a part of the New World Order, so it's pretty ridiculous that I would be paying myself to cover something. It is no secret that Earth, this ball, this blob, it's a sphere, circular, okay. Oh, by the way, check out that. I have an, oh, well, what's this? I washed my hands as I put this on, so it looks pretty bad, but it's an OWO tattoo. If anybody in my family is watching, yes, don't worry, that is permanent. Anyways, it's no secret that Earth is pretty awesome. It's pretty cool. It's a globe. It's got some pretty sick stuff going on, and I think it's a pretty good idea that we keep it that way. When I was making this book thingy, you know, I've always wanted to write a book, so I thought it would be really cool if I could do something that was, you know, entertaining, something that qualified as a book, as that's pretty necessary in the book writing process, and make something useful, you know, all at the same time. This barely counts as a book, and it certainly isn't useful, so I failed on most accounts, but I did succeed on the concept of making it entertaining. And I mean, hey, I think I might have accomplished part of my goal of the trying to explain what a furry is and being like, hey, you know, it's weird, but accept us. Fun fact, I made the cover orange because I knew it would contrast quite nicely with the pink of the video thumbnail, which is a fun fact. Okay, anyways, when you search up, what's this? It has like this whole thing about it, which I think is pretty sweet. That I was really impressed with myself with that there. Let's get to the business here. One of the worst parts about books is they're made of trees, or so why did I hold up 2 fingers? Or so I thought. I came across a Quora thread, which, you know, Quora is one of the more, how do you say, reliable sources on the internet. I'm being jokey, but honestly, it's pretty good. They got some good statistics and smart people on there. I got some varied signals from this. They said anywhere from 60 to 2,000 books could be made from a single tree, which is a pretty wide range, so I'm not super sure on that. They pointed out that the wood used to make pulp for paper for books is typically made out of materials that would otherwise be thrown out, like branches and other bits of wood that, you know, aren't big enough to build anything with, but you can turn into paper. But what they ended up saying is that you should be feeling guilty about the amount of water used to make paper. That being said, look, okay, I like trees. I'm not a huge fan of tree death doesn't really sound that fun to me, and I don't really want to profit off of it. So I said, what if we could plant a tree for every one of these books sold? Including digital ones, by the way. I know on the book I say every paperback copy, but electricity uses a lot of CO2, so why don't, let's throw the ebooks in there as well. You may have noticed after the video came out, I ended up raising the price by like 60 cents or so, because I was at least somewhat concerned I wouldn't be able to plant a tree for every book sold, but turns out it's fine, so that's good. The money is in order. We can plant these trees, okay? At my last check, about 145 copies of the book have been sold, which is really crazy. I want to thank you guys for making this project such a success. Hopefully we were able to explain what a furry is in the process, although that is a pretty complicated thing to do, so I'm not sure if we achieved it or not. Of course, the book is still available. Be sure to update the title of this video to coincide with the amount of trees that have been planted. And I think that's a pretty good transition into the rub here. Now, here's the rub. For every copy sold, I got a couple of bucks, I think. Like, of course, it varies depending on your location and how many other copies have been printed around the time you order it. Ebooks, I have no idea how much I got on the ebooks, but let's average it out. About a couple bucks per copy. And for each one of those copies, I'm donating $1 to One Tree Planted. Now, One Tree Planted is a charity that will plant a tree in a place that needs a tree for every dollar donated. In fact, let's open up their website using my NITW phone. Okay, Edna Mode. And guest.
Edna Marie Mode is a fictional character who appears.
Okay, I'm kidding. One Tree Planted, yay. They plant trees in all sorts of places, and they seem to be a pretty cool charity. And yeah, so that's what I've chosen. I am going to be distributing much of the remaining monies to the artists who were in the book. Remorgs, or Mudsie, or Sea Urchin? Yeah, Sea Urchin. Also, Majira let me use their picture at some point in the book. I don't know where that is. Majira, if you want royalty, let me know. Oh my gosh, my phone keeps buzzing. That's the Patreon chat. More about that later. I told each artist they would get 10% of the profits after the trees were paid for, because there's like 38 pages or something like that, and the idea of being like, oh, so your drawing was took up 1 page, so you get a 38 to the profit. That's stupid. We got it. Let's support the artist. 10% for each drawing. So when you take about $150 out for the trees, you give 10% of the remaining to each of the drawings. That leaves me with about 70 bucks that I'm going to be able to put back into the channel, which is pretty cool. Sadly, this wasn't my big break. I still need my Patreon peoples, but I think the trees we planted here were well worth it, because, you know, this was not supposed to be some sort of crazy moneymaker or something. I just wanted to make something funny and, you know, make a difference in the process, hopefully. Now that that's all, like, explained, I'm sure at least some of you are sort of like, you know, why trees? Like, everybody knows when they think about the environment and, like, being green and renewable resources and stuff, you think of trees. It's just a thing. But why? What's the deal with trees? What's so special about them? Well, I'm about to go into painstaking detail as to why trees are good. I had that fancy 3D model sitting over there earlier, and the reason for that was we're talking about the Earth, you know, so it's not clickbait after all. That was a bit of a demonstration of this new idea I came up with. For storytelling, I call it pre-shading, and it's where you mention something that becomes relevant later on in the story. It's mine now. I just Christopher Columbus foreshadowing. Okay, I'm gonna shut up. Let's move on. Before humans were the crazy creatures that we are today. Focus. Okay. We could even go back further to our evolutionary ancestors when they roamed around the Earth, you know? Let's say the world was balanced, okay? Every time somebody exhaled carbon dioxide, there was a tree somewhere that would breathe it in and create oxygen, which is, for what we're talking about today, that's essentially what we breathe. If you want to get technical, the air around us is mostly nitrogen. Let's just say oxygen for our purposes. When somebody breathed out CO2, there was somebody else to inhale it in, breathe out oxygen. Or maybe the ocean would absorb the CO2, or the ground, or something like that. You know, it's the carbon cycle, that's what it's called. But I mean, you know, long story short, we started cutting down trees to like make houses and stuff, and then we started cutting down trees to like make paper, and then we started burning coal to generate electricity, and now we're burning fuel so we can drive our cars, which creates a huge amount of CO2 gas. And we have a problem now. We have all these gases, CO2 for example, that's the one I'm going to be talking about mostly today. The balance we had is only capable of so soaking up a certain amount of greenhouse gases. So the remaining gas floats up to the sky. It wraps around the Earth like a very, very big blanket. Now, I tell you what, I love to curl up on a cold night with a fuzzy blanket, and it's great, but that's not what we're talking here. Imagine being in the Sahara Desert even, and you're sitting there 150 degrees and you're covered in like 20 blankets, and it's horrible. This blanket of gas is making the Earth a lot hotter when it used to just bounce back off into the atmosphere. Now it's being absorbed by these gases, making Earth hotter. Okay, I think I've gotten that across. I mean, and this doesn't even, the the warming of the Earth doesn't even factor in the idea of like air pollution and stuff. You know, if you have all these freaky gases in the air, it's not going to be a lot of fun for anyone. If you live in a city right now, you're probably already experiencing this. All this pollution in the air, it's not fun to breathe in. Since the Earth is hotter now, that directly affects the climate, the patterns of weather and stuff. And a warmer atmosphere can also hold more moisture, which intensifies weather events. It's really a snowball effect, you know, because some plants or some other part of an animal's environment start to die because of the temperature changes. The animals in that environment don't really like that, and you know, they start to die, and then the animals that eat those animals start to die, and before you know it, the world has ended. More specifically, coral reefs are really sensitive. It's 2018 as of filming, so over the last 30 years, coral reef populations have gone down 50%, 50, cut in half, and it is estimated by 2050, 90% of the coral reefs that exist now will be dead, which, as you can imagine, is not good for the coral and completely crushes the ecosystems in which these coral live. If everything depends on an organism and then that organism, such as the coral, gets wiped out, and it's not a good thing. Hopefully, you don't need me to say, hey, that's not a nice thing, to realize it's not a nice thing. Polar bears, they need ice to live on. And, you know, their ice is taking longer to form and is melting away faster than ever before. If all the ice melts, they're screwed. I could go on and on. Climate change / global warming is a huge issue and is only going to become a bigger issue as time goes on. And we need to stop producing the amount of CO2 we produce now like 50 years ago. I know of people who are like, yeah, you know, that whole climate change thing sucks, but I mean, you know what are we gonna do about it? And that is one of the most irritating things ever. It's like having a knife thrusted into your body, and you're like, well, it's there, so we might as well shove in a couple more while we're at it. Like, no! Luckily for us, and for future generations, in 2016, the Paris Accord, or Paris Agreement, became a thing, and it's a bunch of countries, 196 to be exact. The goal of this agreement is to keep global warming to a 1.5 degrees Celsius increase, nothing over that. Even a 1.5 degree increase isn't good, but our current estimate is a 2 to 5 degree increase by 2100. So if we can just make the damage as small as possible, that's the best thing we can do at this point. It's a really nice and like restores faith in humanity thing, you know. Everybody is helping out to be part of this. In 2017, France announced that it is going to ban gas-powered cars by 2040, and they won't use any coal to make electricity by 2022. The Netherlands is going to ban the sale of gas-powered cars by 2030, while Norway is just going to be doing the same thing by 2025. It's looking okay. Let's just cross our fingers and hope everything goes well. You know, getting back to the trees. Just kidding. Paris Agreement is not going very good, actually. Your favorite United States leader, heck with it. I'm sort of ticked. The US is, I believe, the second largest producer of CO2 in the world. And your favorite trash ball announced that the US would be pulling out of the Paris Accord by 2019, I think. The US, second highest producer of CO2. We're screwed, guys. Like, seriously, if you want to see a coral reef or a polar bear, go as soon as possible. Take pictures, because your kids or your future relatives may not be able to see them if something doesn't change 20 years ago. And that is an incredibly sad thing. We should have started addressing this forever ago. I don't know if it's a failing of education. Seriously, this is a huge issue. The planet is going to pay for us just being stupid. And it's a fact. I saw a thing on Reddit. It was, or maybe it was Tumblr, I forget. Anyways, it was a picture of a newspaper talking about how scientists are starting to notice an increase in these CO2 gases, and you know, it could cause a problem for future generations. And it was written like 102 years ago. I've pretty clearly established that trees absorb CO2, less climate change. Okay, that's not necessarily how it works, but well, it's close enough for now. Of course, my understanding is that we can't really reverse the warming that has happened so far, but we can slow down more warming. Jeez, that was a lot of stuff to cover, but that's really the idea, and I think I covered it. I hope I covered it well. It only took me doing this video twice. Right, so let's hope this turns out okay. Theoretically, the tree being planted should also offset the CO2 produced in shipping the book as well. I did some math on that. I don't really have access to exact numbers. Point is, I think it's pretty good. One thing that I think is so frustrating about this is how it's somehow considered a political thing when in actuality it's just like bipartisan issue that affects everyone. You know what I mean? It's comparable to gay marriage in some ways in that people say like, hey, no, let's not talk about politics. You can't just simplify this down to politics. This is not like some sort of semantics thing. This affects my life directly. And in case of climate change, it affects everyone. I want to give a huge, genuine thank you to everybody who has bought the book or plans to buy the book. Thanks for your support. I saw an Amazon review for the book get submitted to r/furry IRL. Thanks to the person who shared that, and thanks to the people who share my stuff. That helps a lot. You may have remembered that for the past month or so, as of this video being filmed, of course, Worth It has been generous enough to match any donations to my channel, and we were going to try to save up for a rip-off fursuit to see how bad they really are. Now, Worth It, of course, is a Chrome extension. They are sponsoring this video. Thank you, Worth It. Stroke website that allows you to donate as little as 10 cents to any of your favorite creators. It's pretty sick, but you go down to the button and you click it, and you've sent off dime to your favorite creator, and it's pretty sick. If you like this video, I would really appreciate it if you donated through Worth It. You just click the little buttony thingy. Or if you want to, you can also donate, and in exchange for you donating, I have to answer a question that you ask, and if I don't answer the question, the money doesn't go through, so that's a cool thing. Sadly enough, we did not get enough donations to buy a rip-off suit, but at this point, I'm just gonna save up the money that we did get and just put it towards something fun for the channel or something along those lines. I'm not sure. If you guys have any ideas, let me know. Once again, thanks to Worth It for being cool enough to sponsor me, because, you know, gay furry ain't necessarily the most commercially viable. Thanks to my Patreon people. You guys know who you are, and you guys are pretty swell. I couldn't be here without you, as I am currently unemployed. I am going to turn 17 pretty soon, so I'm really trying to preserve the small amount of childhood I have left. But I mean, that being said, a huge shout out to Samru, who is our current $20 per month donator, which is huge. Thank you. We got a new supporter, Bitae. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but that's pretty cool. And then thanks to everybody else who's been sticking around. Torch Fox, Dex the wulfaz, Nolan, Helix, MuffDash, Nick, Chip, Alex, Crash. Thanks to you guys. Patreon, Telegram chat. We have a lot of fun on here. We like talk about various things. It's very serious. If you want to come hang out with us, donate $1 or more on Patreon and you are part of it for life. Okay, if there's one thing I would like everyone to take away from this video, okay? We shall stand for the creatures that can't speak, and we must stop the gears of this machine, because the machine I'm talking about runs on leaded gasoline. It is no good.